Dave?
Hey, not much. What's up with you after this busy weekend?
Yeah, did you get a little rest
Yeah, a lot.
from Marji Camp?
Marji Camp wore me out, I should say, and wore me in.
Nothing like the sound of bagpipes in the morning.
On a Saturday morning in September.
Leave it to Dave, Cate, to be the first person on the podcast with walk-in music. Welcome, John Cena.
Fuck yeah.
Pierre, how the hell are you?
Wonderful. Great to see you, Todd.
Good to see you, too. Why don't you
Mark.
grab a seat and throw that headset on, my friend?
Alrighty.
Thanks for coming down.
My pleasure.
All right,
Thank you for
sir.
having me.
Oh, we do it on his camera. We'll make some adjustments here. We're adapting on the fly.
Yeah.
In typical Cate fashion, nobody knew that this was happening, so we're just rolling with it. So, Pierre, what you been up to since Marji?
As little as possible. I mean, look at me. I mean, nothing new about that in my, or Pierre's life.
Try to get up on the mic a little bit closer.
Okay. You
Yep.
got it.
Yes. Because you've
Alrighty.
got a beautiful voice, Pierre.
Thank you. You're very kind.
You truly do.
Yes.
I haven't heard you sing. Do you sing?
If you use that word loosely, yes.
Okay. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
So, yeah. Lots of family members who make noise. So,
that make noise. So also known as make music.
Yeah. So in fact, just went to a youngest brother's retirement out in D.C. And he just retired from the Army, Sergeant Major, after 30 years.
Oh,
And,
Sergeant
so
Major.
Kudos to you, Brother Cliff. Very proud of you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So singing in the U.S. Army choir out there. So what
Awesome.
a gig.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. A career of singing in the U.S.
There you go. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many brothers and sisters?
Just a mere 14. Yeah.
That's
So,
from a
yeah.
different era.
No doubt. Yeah, we, the old, did you eat in shifts? How did you all work that out? The youngest ones were always the skinniest ones. So,
Yeah.
So 14. What's the age range from youngest to oldest?
large. Yeah, large.
I would think
40, 45 years or so from.
Wow.
No, just kidding. Not that much. But anyway, yeah.
Doing the math on that.
There's a good span.
Yeah, you would
Yeah.
think. That's a lot of kids.
Yep.
That's a lot of helping hands.
There we go. Yeah.
That's a lot of helping
So
hands.
during, when you all were kids, what was the population of Ishpeming, your hometown?
Well, it was pretty much us and the Petrucci's. We gave the Petrucci's a run for their money, but they were still larger family than us. And awesome families, lots of cool families growing up in Ishpeming.
So everybody plays? Is everybody musically inclined?
No, some other of the siblings decided to have a real job and stuff, and
Okay.
but a good majority play instruments or sing.
Yeah. What about your kids?
Yeah, it was part of their chores growing up, actually. So, for instance, basically we have 3 boys, and I would take them downstairs for their music lessons because that's where the music and / exercise room was. And pretty much 2 under one arm. The oldest one could walk, and all 3 of them would be screaming during a while and protesting, but... Anyway, they hung in there, and it was just part of their chores.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Talk to me about Marji Gesick. You've been up on the rock every year for a long time. Do you remember can you recall like the first time being up there? Or is it just like you said earlier, a flat out blur? like when you're up there, or let me ask you this: when you're up there and you're playing, and then you start to see the bikes, and then they start to come up, and then it goes from 1, 2, 10 to hundreds of people going over that. What's that like from your perspective?
It's a rush, and it still amazes me that people can go or would choose to go over that hill, over that rock, and down some more rocks, and down that steep slope, because that just takes a different breed of person to do something like that. So, the first time, I don't know if it was the first time, but yeah, I think the first time we went up there, I don't know who was escorting me up there. If it was...
well, one of the first times I took you over there.
Yeah. Because
I remember the morning, it was super foggy when we got up there.
In fact, weren't there people camping out?
There were people camping up top.
And they knew nothing about the event.
They had no idea what they were about to witness.
In fact, I believe I woke them with my bagpipes.
Yeah.
So here we are at the top of the world.
Yep.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And we have people camping out there in tents, being woke to bagpipes of all things. I can't imagine what they're...
And then, bikes, hundreds of bikes coming through their campsite.
Yeah.
Near, around, or past the tent. That's a hell of a way to wake up, huh?
No doubt. I don't wish that on anyone.
I think 2016.
Yeah.
2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember coming up, and he was just wrapping up because I think Johnny and I were the last two up the hill. And then he seen us, and then he threw in a little more music, as I recall. And then I think I took you up in 2019 for sure. Maybe Jeff Kehoe did.
Tom Clark is taking him up. Do you remember going up there with Tom on the back of a four-wheeler?
I certainly do. Yeah, the roads were all washed out. It was muddy everywhere, and
it was cold.
Oh, it was bitter cold. Yeah.
Tom felt bad for you. When he came back, he was like, oh, man, poor Pierre. Just riding up there, you got all your gear, you're bouncing around on the back of the four-wheeler, and
it was kind of like Dumber and Dumber. That's all I can think of. I'm sure we both had snot running down our noses and stuff like that. Yeah.
You have yet to have any issues with the bagpipes, right? As far as the temps being too cold?
Fortunately not. Yeah. They've managed to keep playing in spite of what some riders may want. But anyway, they've kept playing. And even this past winter, when we had that winter event, what was it again?
Polar Roll.
The Polar Roll. Yeah, in Ishpeming. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think they were going to play outside, but by golly, they did actually play outside as well. So, wow. Typically, they don't play very long because it's a reeded instrument. And once moisture gets on those reeds, it's too much moisture, it's game over.
Yeah, it's going to freeze up.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that I heard you. I was out riding North Trails, just on a random ride, kind of middle of the day. And when I came from the Collinsville Cut Trail, I was heading back toward BLP, and the trail crosses the power line. And when I hit the power line, I didn't hear you until I hit the power line, because that's where it opens up and the sound's carrying. And I'll never forget hearing it. And when it finally hit my ears and my brain recognized what I was hearing, I immediately stopped in the opening, looking for you. And at this point, we didn't know each other. And I had no idea who you were. I'm just looking for the sound, like, where the fuck is that coming from? Because when I hear bagpipes, I don't hear them, I feel them. And that's what that moment was. I felt that sound. And right away, I'm like, I need to figure out who this motherfucker is, because that needs to be in the Marji Gesick on top of the world. And then somehow I tracked you down.
Yes.
Which was miracle number 1. And then miracle number 2 was you said yes.
Well, you probably ran into a creditor. So anyways, in fact, I think that might have been, just up the street on Wright Street. Is that where? Yeah, because that's just a few minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my happy places to practice. And another place is at the cemetery, Holy Cross, because that's just down from my house as well. And usually I get fewer complaints at those places.
Sure.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Meyer is not a good place. You get a lot of complaints.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I took you over and you played behind the mall. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we recorded. It was a cover of AC/DC, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. That was a year or
the
two
Westwood
ago.
Mall.
Yeah,
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
That's another rehearsal space. Actually, once in a while, I'll go out on the break walls as well, and
that'd be
pipe out there.
That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Lots of great places around here.
That sound that you create and that feeling that you create has become synonymous with Marji Gesick. Like, I can't imagine a moment in time when it's not there. You know, it could happen because none of us are getting any younger, but
That's true. Good observation.
yeah. But goddamn, that makes the morning.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yeah, when you come up on that sound, you feel it,
Yeah.
and it carries.
Yeah.
It carries a long, long ways into that event.
I mean, I don't know how you couldn't come up over that as you're approaching the climb to top of the world. If you are not overwhelmed with just incredible emotion to be able to have the opportunity to be in that moment, you better check yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Because there's nothing like it.
And so I have a question for you about Pierre's performance on top of the world. Was when you did your Marji X in June of 2020, and you got to experience it yourself when he and I, put it together to get up there and have you have that surprise. What was your reaction?
Anytime I hear him play,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how many times I've heard it. It doesn't matter what it is that he plays. Just grateful for the opportunity to have that, to feel that, to be reminded of whatever it's bringing back. That was a different moment we were in 2020, right?
Yeah, totally.
That was a whole different era of crazy. And that was just a real cool 25-hour chapter of the book. And I was glad that you were part of it. And I was glad that Pierre was part of it. I was glad that Eddie was part of it. And Pete.
Liz.
Yep, Liz, the family. I mean, everybody who was there as part of that. It was fucking great. It's good stuff. So how long you want to hang around here?
Well,
I know you got work to do, and Cate didn't even tell you what we were doing here.
This is really cool. I mean, what an awesome thing for people to be able to clue in and as to what you guys are doing and what you're up to, and man, the way you've promoted biking in the area. What an awesome thing, especially for the youth and kids just getting started. So,
yeah,
those 2 years.
When we started doing it, this thing has evolved. Like, we were talking at Marji Camp this past weekend. Mudslingers did a presentation on mindset. So they're talking about different ways or different things you can work on to finish the Marji Gesick. One of the things that they talked about was understanding your why. Why are you out there doing this, right? And so my correlation is like the why behind why this started 11 years ago has evolved over time, because as it grows, the why changes. As we change, the why to keep going changes. And let's be honest, the world's changed a lot since 2014 too. A lot. And will continue to change a lot. It's always been important. Community has always been and will always be important. It's never been more important than now to teach people and promote how to build and maintain and nurture community, because it's constantly under threat to be broken up. So I keep saying what we started 14 years ago has continued to change, and it's more relevant and more important now than it's ever been, and will probably continue to become more important as we push forward, particularly with kids, because we had Dr. James Reinhardt on here. He's a pediatric cardiologist. And we had a lot of discussion around mental and physical health right now of youth, and they need more time outside. 100%. They got to disconnect from stuff. They need fewer demands placed on them. We need fewer kids thinking about their goddamn resume and more kids thinking about getting out in the woods and being a kid.
Totally.
You know, there's a lot of time to being a fucking adult. You don't need to start at 10.
Yeah, exactly. And plenty of time to work the other muscles in your fingers as opposed to just your opposing thumbs, you know, so.
Yeah, and music.
There we go.
You know, like you mentioned the promotion of biking in the area, which obviously the events have done. But more than anything, like when I'm dead and gone, I don't want to be remembered for promoting biking. I want to be remembered for helping people find the best version of themselves.
Awesome.
And if biking experiences early on as a kid help them develop the foundational core values and character attributes and skills they need to become the best musician, lawyer, patent attorney, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, we're not locked into that. Just realize the best version of what you can be.
Beautiful. Well, with that, let me put a plug out there as long as we're talking about community and opportunity for people to do things maybe they never would have thought of. One of the things our bagpipe band, the Superior Pipes and Drums, do is we offer lessons for free to our members. So members who are in the group, who participate in the group, and by participation, I mean participating in our parades, because that's our main thing. We are a parade unit per se, and we do a few brief concerts and stuff like that. But parades are what we do. So you'll see us in the 4th of July parade in Marquette, likewise in Ishpeming this year on Saturday, and then Sunday in Curtis. A week later on the 12th, we'll be in Iron River, and then things are looking good for Friday, July 25th, in the Fireman's Parade in Gwin this year. So we offer free lessons for drumming, bagpiping, learning how to bagpipe, learn how to drum, likewise, even Highland dancing. So there's an opportunity out there for not just kids, but for people of all ages. So we have members who are in their early teens all the way up into, I believe, in their 80s now, participating in our group.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, there you go. That's a good plug. Get out there.
Excellent.
Join the club. Get free lessons.
Right on. Who knows? Maybe future pipers right here.
Maybe. I mean, we're going to need to get some young kid on that track, so we've got pipes at the top of the world,
Right on.
into perpetuity, right?
Absolutely.
We've got to get that younger generation fired up.
Indeed.
Very good.
All right. Well, why don't you go home and work on your projects?
All right.
Your wife's probably waiting for you to get there. If you want to come back, we'll do a full episode with you.
I'd be honored.
I think that would be
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah,
You're a
love to.
natural. You're a natural.
Well, thank you. Thank you as always. Todd, great to see you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Dave, great job what you guys do.
Thanks,
you for having me.
Pierre.
We will see you soon. Make sure you've got Marji on your calendar.
Yep, you got it. It's on there.
Until next time, my friend.
Beautiful.
Pierre is leaving the building.
Likewise, Mark.
Later, man.
Wow, what a guy, huh?
Cool dude.
Very cool.
For sure.
Very cool.
For sure. Did you talk to Vince at all after the weekend or during the weekend?
Oh yeah, yeah. He had a really good camp. He was very happy to coach, and I just wanted to know dragging a camper over the bridge what I was going to face. So tomorrow, so I wanted to get recon, but of course I wanted to know that he was okay and had fun. So
Is he feeling ready for September?
I think,
Did you guys talk about it?
yeah, a little bit. I think he's about where he was last year,
Yeah.
and I think last year had he not realized that he was without a chain link, he probably would have made Jackson Park 2 on time. I think it was a 90-minute delay for him trying to get a chain link.
Oh, that's valuable time.
I don't know how.
Valuable time to lose.
When he called me, it was a bit after 2, but I was on some task that we needed to do in the field ops for the event. So he had to, I think, wait till 3:30 in the morning or something before I could get him back to Flowersville.
wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a rough few minutes there.
Yeah. Well, we're all pulling for him. Hopefully it gets her done this year. That would be, he's worked his ass out for it. So when it does happen, and it will, it will have all been worth it.
He is committed. I am so proud that he kind of followed my commitment to it in his own way. Maybe in the future, when I can't do ops like I can now, then there's the next guy.
Yeah, he's been all in on it for certain. I mean, I didn't see the camper this year, but the camper he had at least been running around with logoed and branded.
Oh, and that other one, yeah.
Yeah, the other one. Yeah. Does he have a different one now?
Yeah, he has my old one.
Oh,
the
okay.
one that you and I stayed together
I
with
gotcha.
for what, 4 days during the Iceman?
Yeah, Iceman.
3 days or something.
21.
Kind of a small camper for you and I together.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It worked. Got to need him on the mic.
Get on the mic.
I'm going to get on the mic. How about that?
Yes, it sounds better. Otherwise, it gets echoey if you're away from it. So you can take this where you want, but you have an interesting perspective on the organization and the events because you've done the events. You're in the Hall of Pain.
Yeah.
But now your activity and engagement within the organization is kind of on the ops side. Well, not kind of. It is on the ops side.
Yeah.
You're behind the curtain, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're involved in the checkpoints with Marji. You're involved with Crusher. If there's a SufferCrew, you're on it.
Yeah.
Take it where you want. What's that been like?
It has been it has added important dimensions to my character.
Oh, so in what way?
I think that, it in one way is that I see how complicated it is, and the things that are thrown up to impede us as we prepare a course for an event like this. Mm-hmm. Like the staples in the trees last year, and how we find a way to get around that and still get everything out there. Mm-hmm. And it gives you. It's not just me. It's not just you. It's everyone that's involved in that stays on point, and we're going to achieve this goal for the greater good.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
And so, in that way, having that experience on a large scale, right? Because Marji is a large scale, Crusher is a large scale, and I don't mean just large scale by the number of participants, but the distance.
Well, the geography.
The geography and the amount of miles ridden. If you add it up, multiply the number of participants and the miles ridden and the difficulty. Mm-hmm. If you can imagine riding South Trails and some of it, like Scary or something like that. Mm-hmm. Think about going out there and signing it and de-signing it, and then putting out token bins and getting them where you want them to be. These are pretty heavy tasks. I'll even say another thing. For me to participate in Marji as a rider usually takes the following Tuesday or Wednesday to start to feel normal again. Mm-hmm. It takes a good solid week after preparation and execution week for Marji.
Yeah, that's fair.
It really, really, it's not the same per unit time output, but it's how much time you're out there putting it out, right? And it accumulates.
Yeah. I don't know how to articulate it, but I have said before, and we're not trying to do a comparison or say that one is harder than the other, but volunteering for the event, SufferCrewing for the event, going through that week, run up to the event, going through the event, coming out the back side of the event, it's the feeling of fatigue is unlike anything I've ever had, even from when we rode around the UP.
Yeah.
They don't compare. Yeah. And I think both are very physical. I think if you're doing the event, it's more physical because sometimes in those events, you got to just turn the brain off and do it.
Yeah.
Versus operationally running these large scale, very complicated events like Marji and Crusher. It's all mental. I mean, there's a lot of physical, but there's a lot of mental, and it's It's a beatdown.
I mean, during the event last year when we had the bike riders for the duathlon, right, coming out of the last two coming out of the Ramba trails,
Yep.
and the two runners were converging, right?
Yes.
And we wanted to make sure the runners had the opportunity to get a token,
Right.
but we didn't want the bikers coming out, the 200-mile bikers coming out, out and backs, I should say. I misstated what it was. To know where they were.
Right.
And so, how do you do that? Right there, you got to start thinking.
Yep.
And, you got to make sure.
And, a lot of times in the timing, like to that example, some problems that pop up, you don't know they're problems until they pop up, because you don't know from the time you send out, like last year, we're sending out an out and back running event on like Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're sending out another out and back event going the opposite direction on Friday. And then on Saturday, you're sending out 1, 2, 3 different events.
Right.
4 different events. Yeah, 4 different events.
Yeah.
The 50, the 50, the 100, and the mini.
And
In one day.
Yeah.
And so now you got all your people, everybody's on course, but all of their timing within the course is on a completely different timeline.
Yeah.
So you don't know where you're going to have a problem until you have the problem.
Right.
And then you have to be very fast to problem solve.
like right there.
Yeah. My advice would be, and we've been wired to do this, and I think this is also why we've been successful. A lot of people or organizations, I think where they fail is in high intensity moments. They're not trained properly.
Yeah.
Too much emotion comes in, too much blaming. There's not a clear chain of command. It's not really understood who's making the decision, who's not making the decision. And it's a fucking shit show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for us, when we get into these moments,
Yep.
like each person knows their role, what needs to be done. And the thing that is always at the forefront is providing an optimal experience and delivering on the mission.
Yep.
That is, we don't let anybody's ego get ahead of that. Anybody's sense of who they are, it's always mission first.
Right.
And I think that that's been our guiding North Star for over a decade.
Yep.
And as long as we maintain that, I think we're good. Well, and you got to have the right people that are willing to fit into the system too, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's like we meet maybe Sunday night, Monday morning, whichever it is, deal with some bizarre stuff, usually trying to get things collected so we can start to prepare and dispatch, the signage or whatever else. But anyways, I guess the point is that you're the leader and I stay with that. What do we need? What do you need to have me do? Where? When? It's going to get done. And I see that in Paul, right? Heitman.
Yeah, Heitman, for sure.
Heitman. Definitely with Dave Whaley, who he doesn't do so much of what I do on Marji, but definitely Polar Roll, and Crusher.
Yep, for
And
sure.
Crusher. So
Yeah, everybody's got they got their spot that they fit into, and
Yep.
they've got their piece, their proficiency that they bring to the table, and it's all benefiting the organization, and then the organization's benefiting however X number of thousands of people of all ages every year.
Yep.
Talk about the dum-dums. You remember the first year that the dum-dums came up? I'm curious. I know what my perspective is on how that all came together and happened, but I'd love to hear it from yours, because that's definitely been one of my favorite checkpoint moments within the Marji progression.
A lot of things about that. I think the first thing was we had the plastic pumpkins in your side yard trailer on blocks.
Yep.
Right. And I was pulling them out, and I think one fell, and I kind of kicked it down the ramp. And you were standing there, and I think you looked at me, and I said, "This is for Halloween candy. This is not for wooden tokens." I still have hold of that. Even though I put some wooden tokens in them last year, but still. And I think, as I recall, because we're going back to 23, right?
Yeah.
And that's blurry if you go that far back. Right?
Yeah.
So the vividness is gone, but there are a couple points about it that are very vivid that I do remember. You just kind of looked at me like, candy. And I said, did I say this, or maybe you told me, and I don't know much. Go over to Gordon Food Services and see what candy they got. Okay, we're in Halloween season. What do you think Gordon Food Services had for candy? A whole wall of candy.
Mind you, can I add here?
Yeah.
So anybody listening to this understands this is race week,
Yeah.
like Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it is,
Yeah.
beginning of the week.
Yeah.
Continue.
It was a Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because, anyway, and I sent you a couple pictures
Yep.
of the different varieties of
the
candy.
candy.
You've seen Dum-Dums in that
As
one.
soon as I saw the Dum-Dums, I'm like,
Okay.
it was just like, boom, that's it.
So how many do we need? 1,500 for each bin. What? There's only I don't know what the unit size, the count in each bag was, but I bought out Gordon Food Services, and I bought out large and small bags, everything that Meyer had as well.
Yep.
So it turned out there were 4,500 Dum-Dums in the stores Tuesday morning, no longer in the stores Tuesday afternoon. We grabbed them all.
Did we calculate that we needed like 6,000?
It was 4,500.
4,500? Yeah. And then so we get the Dum-Dums, right? Because it's all like, it's just coming together as we're doing this. No plan. And then we look at the bags and it's like, well, shit, every bag has different colored wrappers, right? There's assortments, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, right.
And remember, we started working toward coloring the sticks. Yeah. How are we going to color these sticks so we know which checkpoint each of these bags was at?
I mean, I figured out, right? And Kathy, Stacy's mom, said, I'll help color the sticks because we had the problem, right? Someone just grabbed 3 from one bin and they'd be done.
Right.
So we had to differentiate.
Right.
So, okay, orange and black. Right, brand colors for Marji, orange and black.
Yep.
So the orange was easy. Break open one of those highlighters, water-based dye in there, and, put on some rubber gloves and start
coloring sticks.
Start just taking that thing. It's like a sponge. It's more like another thing, but it's just like a sponge full of of orange dye with no smell. Okay. So, Kathy said, I'll do the orange ones good. And she did. I said, I'll take the black ones. Sharpie. Fuck. Take them back to my camper in an enclosed camper. Breaking open Sharpies. Color and sticks. Halfway through my second beer, I don't know anything that happened over the next 5 hours. I was hammered by the smell of the Sharpie when you break them open because it's a solvent-based pigment solution that's in there. And that was funny. So I called Sean up and I said, Sean, I only, I don't want to do this out in the open here because there's campers and, at Rippling River.
Secrecy.
Must
be maintained.
I called Sean and I said, can I come over to your house and first look at me, evaluate me, make sure that I'm okay to drive? And the second thing is I need to, and so he helped me out doing it. So.
And you're talking Sean Hendren.
Yeah, Sean Hendren, who we lost earlier this year.
Yeah. So, miss that guy.
Totally.
Great human.
Totally.
He was on a couple different, because, so after we figure out our shenanigans with checkpoints, right, and you get through coloring the sticks, and now we're to Friday, and it's time to get these damn checkpoints into the woods.
Yeah.
Sean went with you a couple times, right?
Yeah, I think 23 and 22.
Yep.
24,
So he was your checkpoint apprentice.
He was my checkpoint pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he, was having his treatments. And he didn't care. This was one of his releases.
Yeah. Yeah, he loved the 906 events.
Yeah.
He loved the community. He loved the, all the shenanigans around it. He loved it.
Yeah.
He really did.
Totally.
What was it like the year that Durian shows up with the mannequin? Did you know that thing was coming?
Yeah. That was last year.
No, the mannequin goes back several years.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
You know, I didn't even know it was out there the first year it went out on Jasper.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know it was coming until the night it was going out.
Okay.
I ended up getting somebody sent me a picture, pitch black, middle of the night, and there's like this mannequin dressed like me in the back of a truck, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
I think that was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you knew that was coming?
No, I didn't know that he was bringing it, but I knew that it was then out there after it was. So.
Oh, God. That thing is still hanging around.
Yeah, we deployed it near the bin that was at the end of Sissy Pants last year, halfway down that hill. When you're coming, right before you have to make that hairpin left, it was right in the middle of that hill.
Yeah.
And we made sure no one could see it, even on their bike. It was sunk down that far.
Right.
And, you know, it was letting you know you were number one. And Kelly and Gary and Teresa and I just had a ball putting that out there, right? You know, so.
That first year that it went out, it was really funny because it was on top of Jasper Knob.
Yeah.
So when people are getting there, you know, it's different phases of day and night, darkness and light. And people are in a variety of mental states.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Generally in close proximity to delirium. And I had multiple people come to the finish line that year, and they were like, that fucking mannequin, I thought that was really you. I was talking to it, but you didn't answer me. And then I was like, man, Todd's such an asshole. He's not even answering me. And then I realized it's a mannequin. Multiple people had that happen.
Oh, I could tell you. And I didn't witness that, but I can tell you how many times have I been on top of Jasper near the end of the event, and the last few people are coming up, and they're just like, did a hydrogen bomb just go off in the mine? You know, and just the look on their face, absolutely in delirium. Yeah. So seeing that, I can see how someone would get, you know, the heck, guy's not talking to me. What? Rude guy. Rude
Oh, too funny.
Yeah, too cool. I actually last year I'd like to talk about working with Gary, Kelly, and Teresa, and putting out the token bins. I mean, we really had a riot with it. We did it because there were so many. Mm-hmm. We had to start a little earlier than normal, but
Right.
It was a great time.
And there was more going on last year.
Yeah.
You know, because it was out and back year.
Yeah. So we had to time that, you know, putting them out in the proper order in the proper place. So
They enjoyed it?
yeah, they had a good time. Even brought the dog for a couple of trips. So
Yeah.
the dog got to enjoy it.
So describe that. I mean, so people know what goes into getting those checkpoints out there.
First thing is, we're in Rippling River. This thing is full of Marji participant campers, right? Everything has got to go in that little gray trailer, and it's got to be staged here or out of your garage. And then you got to wait for the time that people are either busy with, you know, whatever event is going on, pack a pickup, stuff like that. And you just kind of get out of there and go out in the field.
You better get a bigger lock for that great trailer.
Yeah, you know. I'm going to paint it, but I'm not
It
gonna
may
say what
become
color.
a decoy now.
Yeah, it might be a decoy. I can't imagine though hauling one of the big trailers up Mount Marquette Road.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be so good.
But I mean, you end up dragging this stuff right into the woods
Yeah.
at night in the dark,
Yeah.
a variety of different places.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not easy to get to, right?
No, they're not easy to get to. Sometimes, like up on top of Zoig, you can get there off the radio tower road.
Yeah.
Get back in there, but if you put something back there, last year, I think I pulled. Oh, I think this was where I seen Kiko off of a fence line, and there was an actual token bin there. Right, it was maybe the first one that they got to in the whole event, as I recall. Number one position. Yeah, it was for the wooden tokens. And I went in off Malton Road, as opposed to coming in from the Negaunee side. But we had them halfway up the hill on the Negaunee side of fence line, right? And so that's that big, for those of you like a better idea of where I'm talking about, that's that long climb along the rail line before you go to Panorama and, you know, and that overlook over anyway. And so when I went to take it back out, because that's the other part of it. If I put them out, then I got to take them back out.
Correct. They're being monitored. I mean, I'd add,
Yeah.
so people know that the checkpoint locations, the bins, the tokens, they're monitored
Yep.
by you
Yeah.
for essentially 25 hours.
Yep. Totally.
Because it's become such an important part of the event.
Yeah.
We cannot run the risk of having somebody fuck with one of them.
Right.
And you can never trust people to not try to fuck somebody's stuff up.
Yep. Yep.
So you're literally your life just becomes pumpkins.
Pumpkins and what's in them, or maybe sometimes what's not.
What's not in them.
Oh boy.
The best part to me is it's the empty ones.
Yeah.
And finding the least optimal location to put them.
Yeah. The left-hand turn after you come down Jasper Knob last year, right there, put one, empty one. And then people would think, oh, maybe that's the last pumpkin. And then they show up and they don't have their dum-dum from the top of Jasper Knob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they hit that and they divert down. They don't go all the way to the top.
So I last checked.
And that did happen.
It did happen, yep. I last checked. That's funny. It did happen.
Well, and they were, because we're like, oh, you're missing a token, or you're missing a token.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it was empty. It was like, that one was.
That one was. No, that was the blue wrapper dum-dum they had to get up where you would.
Right.
You had ordered all of the. Oh, that's another whole shit show. But I'll jump to that in a second. So I went up there and checked Jasper the last time on top to make where the dum-dums were about 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Just a last check. Okay, we still have dum-dums up there. No animal came and ate them all, or worse.
Because we did have a year where an animal took a pumpkin down, right?
Yeah, last year that happened on
right.
the climb up to Grandview.
Yep.
But when I went, and the decoy one was still on the tree at the turn on Jasper. When I went to get it at 8:30 at the end of the event, it and the dum-dum bins on top, someone kicked that damn empty pumpkin off the tree. You could see the foot strike in it. And I was like, now that's awesome. That is awesome. So, yeah. Now let's talk about those blue wrapper dum-dum.
Yeah, what about them?
So we placed the Jasper Knob dum-dum bin up there last year about 10:30 p.m. A little bit earlier than normal, but it was then because of the way things worked out. And then I realized I don't have the dum-dums. What am I going to do with the dum? What am I going to fill it with? I'll text you several times. I'm not getting anything back from you. I don't know where you're at. And so I go, well, if I don't get in touch with him right now, I'm going to have to go to the stores around here. And everyone was closed already by 10 p.m.
Sure.
Except one, Meijer. So Meijer was still open, 5 minutes to go. I think we had to buy 4 bags in order to get 7 of those blue wrapper dum-dums into the bin for the people that were coming through. This is on Friday night, on early in the morning.
Yeah, so you were probably worried about the run?
Yeah, the runners. So the 2 runners came through and they took their dum-dums, right? And then either one failed to present that he had it, and maybe he wasn't even asked. I don't know at the time because he came through very early in the morning. And I had to go back up there and confirm how many were in there. Was it 5 or 6? And it turned out, that there were 5. So he had it. He probably just, there was a miscommunication at the finish line. So you gave him I told you that you do have a heart. Some people believe you don't, but you said, yeah, he's a finisher. So
those out and backers, man, the runners, that was insane.
Totally.
Insane, the performance that they put in last year. And I remember, what's her name? I'm drawing a blank on her name right now.
Sorry about that.
One of the out and back runners. I mean, when I saw her at Forestville at the start of the 100-mile bike, mind you, they'd been out there now since Wednesday.
Yeah, right.
So I see her and her husband at Forestville in the morning. This is before we've sent out the 100. And she's got to get out of there, right? Or she's done because she's got to get out ahead of the event.
Okay.
Leaving at 7:30. And I saw her, And she was not in a good place. Not in a good place at all. Oh, it was Nicole.
Nicole. Yeah.
Yep, Nicole, that's who it was.
Nicole, she was at camp.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Oh, no.
But I remember her taking off, and it was just like, man, she's not in a good place. This is going to be interesting. And she finished that son of a bitch. She was out there.
It's amazing.
Saturday into Sunday, and she got her done.
And yeah.
Unbelievable.
And we had a runner this year in the Polar Roll Ultra do the same thing too, right? Was she, or was that 2024? Yeah,
that
2024.
was 24, Ellen.
Yeah, Ellen.
Yeah, well, and Ellen, I mean, on that note, Ellen was up last year ahead of the Out and Back. She was signed up to do it.
Yeah.
And then she, I think, had a friend getting married, wasn't going to be here.
Yeah.
Asked if she could still do it.
Okay.
Alone, EX style.
All right.
So we said, yes, you can do it. Wouldn't be official because it's not official. But she was up here with a couple people in a camper. She did it alone, no signage, navigating that thing out and back with whatever device she was using, something on her phone, probably Gaia or something. She got her done.
It's amazing.
So what I loved about it was actually, because when I went into Wednesday talking to everybody else who had yet to start, what I loved about Ellen doing it successfully was she took impossible off the table.
Right.
And I've used that in bike club too for kids, where I see an advantage to mixing kids of different abilities as advantageous, particularly for the kids who might not be the best rider in the group, because the kids who are the best riders in the group take impossible off the table. Nobody in that group, after a kid rides a hill, can say that's impossible to ride, because they've just watched a kid ride it.
Just watch it happen.
Well, and on the Out and Back, I think a lot of people went into it thinking maybe nobody would finish, and maybe it wasn't even possible to do because we didn't know. Nobody'd ever done it. Yeah. And then Ellen goes out and does it. And it's like, all right, well, listen, bitches, impossible is off the table.
Off the table.
So you better get her done, because Ellen did. Yeah. And she didn't have signage, and she didn't have support beyond her two friends. Yeah. And she did it.
Awesome for her.
Yeah.
This is Ellen
awesome.
from Pittsburgh?
No.
She's from Wausau.
Yeah, Wausau.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Where the fuck did you come up with Pittsburgh?
I don't know. It's a place.
It's a place. That it is, Dave.
Maybe I was thinking about paint, Pittsburgh paint or something like that.
Hey, let's talk about the 2018 Hammer.
Yeah, great.
I want to talk about the 2018 Hammer. I want your recollection of that event. Start it from the beginning.
Yeah. Hey, Cate. Wait for me before you go. That's how it started. How long? Yeah, just a minute. Todd's like,
I rode that here.
Yeah.
Part of it.
And he's like, 7 minutes go by. Maybe now?
So he's on the clock. He's getting antsy.
On the clock. More than antsy. Then I had to pee, so I took that opportunity, right? And I come back. Now we're like 17 minutes. It didn't take me that long to pee, but it's like,
it did actually.
Okay, yeah, maybe it did.
Prostate issue.
Slow job. Yeah. Trickling on. Anyway, I think we started 23 minutes after its official time.
Yeah, and immediately he's asking if he's going to get a credit on his time.
Yeah.
Which the answer was no.
No credit.
No, it's like the gun was 23 minutes ago.
And it's totally amazing that I didn't ultimately need that credit, because I turned right at the stop sign at the end. The stop sign of Forestville Road, where you cross the railroad tracks, and boom, right down to the dam.
Right back to the start.
No, not yet. I went down to the dam.
Yeah, the dam is
part of the route.
Right.
Part of the route, yeah.
Yeah, because you would left Forestville
right down there, yeah.
to the dam.
So I'm standing there, I'm going, I don't see no Todd Paquette hanging out here with a little hammer. I'm fucked. It's about 4:20
a.m. Sunday.
I've now been up 24 plus hours.
Mm-hmm. On the clock for 23 and a half-ish. Something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think the cutoff was 24 hours for the hammer.
Yeah. It's 24 hours to the hammer. And I don't know. I started to kind of get angry, but there was a house down. There's a house down
Yeah,
there.
there's it's like a little
Yeah.
circle drive at the end, and
Yeah. And I don't know. And I'm starting to get loud, talking to myself and trying to wake him up upstairs, right? To invoke some of his inspiration. God help me get out of here, out of this hole. And then I realized I better not wake those people up in that house. I don't know what their reaction could be. I'm kind of in a remote area in the Upper Peninsula.
did you know where you were at that point?
No freaking idea.
Okay.
But I did, for some reason, it popped into my head, navigate to the start.
Yeah.
Hit the button, seeing what I was now faced with, climbing back out of that hole.
Yeah.
But I think I did climb out of it, kind of laughing at myself, you know. I had a sense of humor about it. And I roll in, and you said, you know,
Probably. Where the fuck have you been?
you said, what happened to you?
Right. Because I was told you were like right there,
Yeah.
ready to come in. Yeah. And then minutes continue to tick off and no David Cate.
Yeah. And I just said, I had time to throw in a couple extra 4 miles. And you looked at me and you said, you got fucking lost. Pick your answer.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Do you remember running into us on Northwestern?
Yep. I remember I was with Jenny, Lisa,
Yep.
David still,
David.
McLeod,
Oh, McLeod, yes.
and you know, I said, you three, I really was feeling fresh then. And I said, you three go first, get your stuff first, and then you and I had to talk for a little bit. And I remember that vividly.
Yeah, you're in good spirits.
Yeah. I really, that day, I didn't have any point of fatigue. I mean, I just kind of like balanced it out the whole day.
Yeah.
But I did go down in the water one time. And I did.
Over by Gold Mine Road or something? Or
No, I didn't.
Top of the World?
No, the only water I fell in that day was the Yellow Dog River.
Oh,
I crossed at the deep spot.
Yeah.
Going straight across.
yeah.
The bike ended up on top of me, and I'm underwater with a bike on top of me.
Yeah, that's suboptimal.
And so, as a result, only one of my lamps wasn't flooded when I had to use them later on in the day. So I think I had one of those Lumina 1100s at the time, and then the smaller Night Riders, and only one of the small Night Riders, I think it was a 750, would still operate. So I knew I was going to be, and they will only charge when they're off. So it's going to be, there's going to be some in the dark, you know, walking while that charge is, right? But I still have time. So you know, it's these things happen, and you just make it work, right?
Yeah.
So
Can't get too worked up about it.
Fortunately, at that point, I was riding with Chad, Shut, and while that charge, I was able to ride with him behind me. Of course, my body is blocking the line right in front of me, but at least I had sunlight to ride in for 40 minutes or so.
Right.
But yeah, we all got it done, you know?
Yeah.
All of us. Anyone, I think there were 19 finishers that day.
Yeah, 20 some started.
Yeah.
And then like 19 or so finished. The majority of them finished.
Yeah, majority finished. And I mean, full props to every one of those people who put that out there that day. That was a wicked day.
It was July. 50s.
Yeah.
Probably was a little bit lower overnight. Rain. Just steady rain. Cold, you know, great hypothermia weather.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the first year that, you know, it transitioned from the Huron Mountain Crusher to a more official event. I mean, the biggest part of the event that year was actually the team event. There was a lot of team participants there, more than the sledgehammer, you know, the big point-to-point. But yeah, that was the beginnings of the Crusher. That was the first crew to officially go out on a paid event like that into Crusher, what would, you know, become Crusher land, Crusher territory. Yeah. And I shared this in a previous episode with somebody who was on here, but that was, so I've started 2 of our events during the actual mass start.
Yeah.
Started that one, and then I started and finished one with Cable when we first did the Crusher over at Otter Lake.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I did the 40 with him. That was his first time doing the Crusher mass start. But that first time that I lined up for Hammer, we were together for part of the day.
Yeah.
But when I got to the top of Arvon and I was looking at the weather, it's 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I knew what it was going to be like through the night. I'm standing there in the moment thinking, I know what they're going into because I'd done it a couple times before. I know they have no idea what they're going into. Just they being everybody who we got to sign up and put out there. Yeah. And that's when I got a ride back to Marquette, changed, hung up the bike, filled the back of the pickup with supplies. Yeah. And then Tony Lambert and I got on the Northwestern Road and we rode that bitch backwards, finding you guys, checking on you through the night. We had to go all the way back into Lance because there were 2 riders that were off course. That was the first year we were using the track leaders' beacons. So we had to go all the way into town to find them to sort out, what are you doing?
Right.
Found them. And, then we drove back to Marquette by a 41, and we waited for everybody to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
And those two, I think they missed cutoff, so they weren't official finishers, but they did finish at 11 or so in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember
but
that.
they unfortunately missed the cutoff.
Yeah.
But they got her done.
Yeah,
it was a male and a female, but I can't remember their names right now.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah. That was quite the year.
That was quite the year for me. That was 1, 2, 3 Triple Crown.
Yeah, all that year. Right.
All that year.
Yeah, that's a full schedule of personal growth in 1 year.
One trip out to Tatanka to run a bit of that.
Right. I remember you going out there.
To adjust to there is no oxygen in the air.
Yep.
At those elevations in the Black Hills.
Yeah.
That was basically my year, though. Riding bikes on top of me with Todd Levitt in the Polar Roll at the end of Pipe Dream. Mm-hmm. That happened that year. Mm-hmm. 2 lawyers at the bottom of a pipe dream in a pile. Everyone's pipe dream, right? So,
where's Levitt at? Have you talked to him?
No.
Because he just went off the radar.
Yeah. I don't know.
Is he still practicing?
Yeah, I've heard that he's still practicing.
Okay. Well, so he's out there. He's on to other things.
Yeah, moved into other things. So, but what was it? 2019, he came up for Marji 50, and something was wrong with him. I don't know if it was physical or different from physical. And he said, "Cate, I'm going to be the fastest DNFer in the 2019 Marji." That year it started at Marquette Mountain, right? They went up that road.
Yeah, probably. Yes.
Went up that road.
Went up the service road.
I think he said he took counted 70 steps up that road and said, "Okay, I'm done." Text.
I missed that start. That was a great start.
Yeah.
They go straight up and you're immediately doing a 400 or 500 foot climb.
Yep. Yeah.
Right out of the gate. Right to the top and then right back down. Yeah. Easy rider.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. But that event just became too big and just not possible to start it there. Downtown's great too.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool by the Ordock. Yeah. Gives a little bit of time to spread it out, and then they still get a huge monster climb on Mount Marquette Road.
What time does that go off again?
8.
Yeah, it was a little bit, 30 minutes after the 100 goes off, right?
Yep. The 50-mile run, I think, goes out at 7:30.
Yeah.
Ahead of the bikes.
I'll plan to leave the start and dash over there to see my 50 riders from this weekend's Marji Camp that were in my group. They're all 6 of them are going to do the 50.
Oh, they're all doing the 50?
Yeah. So when you see me dash, you know where I'm going.
Think they're ready?
That was a tough crew.
Yeah, good.
They were a really, really good crew.
Good. Yeah, it was a good camp. Good coaches.
Yeah.
Good participants. Some blood, some minor injuries. Nothing too catastrophic from what I have heard, at least up to this point. Some bike implosions. I think Christy tacoed a wheel.
Okay. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. She ended up running out 6 miles with her bike. The wheel was destroyed.
Oh.
Am I missing anything? Did you hear of any other major mechanicals from Marji Camp?
Crank arm fall off.
Yeah, crank arm. Adam Koenig had a crank arm off.
I think Al broke his dropper lever on right in front of me on fence line.
Al and Sanborn just sheared his derailleur off the bike.
Oh, yeah, I did hear him say that.
And then the rock went up into his wheel and just took the wheel out. So he came back, he showed me the derailleur, and he was like, time for a new bike.
Yep. The automobile equivalent is, okay, I need to lease a new vehicle. The tires are now worn out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious, because Vince, your son, he's had his own 906 Adventure Team event, journey, adventure, experience.
Sure.
You being his dad, I'm kind of curious. What have you seen, if anything? I'm not trying to guide you on this, but you've watched him go through these events. You've watched him have positive experiences. You've watched him have learning experiences. Yes. I guess in your perspective, have you seen it change him? And what kind of impact has it had on him? And one other question. When he started doing the events, how old was he?
2019, that's when he and Tinker formed their bond.
Okay, so that would have been first Crusher,
So the
Forestville year.
So he was 19.
He was 19 years old. Okay, and all right. So, from the perspective as a father, what have you seen?
I think Marji experience for him moved him away from a mentality of I expect this success to I have to go earn this success. I think the Marji 50 in 2023 did that for him. He get frustrated, I think, in trying the 100 in 2019 and then I think I picked him up at the cul-de-sac right there, Pioneer Road, right, coming off US 41, right? Mm-hmm. What's the name of that road? That little, where the Marji's, where you come off.
Well, Brickyard hits 41.
Okay.
Is it over by Lowe's and stuff?
No. It was the opposite side of the US 41 side of the South Trails, where you cross that cul-de-sac, where there's Fern Gully and Gorgeous goes back into there.
Granite Point?
No, the road where you go in to do the climb from the east up Mount Marquette.
That's Cliff Power Drive.
Yeah, Cliff Power Drive. That's where I picked them up.
Okay, so we got that.
We got it. We figured it out. This is the way it goes, and sometimes we're trying to figure out where things are at. And he was very frustrated.
Yeah.
Last year, when he didn't make the time cutoff because of the chain link issue, he wasn't frustrated in the same way. He was frustrated that he knew he could possibly really get this done for 100, but he was without a chain link, and it took him too long to be able to get one.
Yeah. Last precious time.
Yeah. He still, though, took a few minutes to compliment you and I. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In a very probably factual way. Right, Vince? Anyway, after I got him back to his car and I seen him back downstate 3 days later, he comes up and gives me a hug and says, "I love you, Dad," and that's what it's all about. So,
from my perspective, not his dad, but just third party, external observer. He's definitely grown through the experiences. I remember when he started coming to Marji Camp as a coach.
Yeah,
and I think those first couple of years. Both of those first couple of years, he ended up back at camp, after a crash, kind of out. And then I think I remember it. I don't know if this was the third one or not, but I think it was the third. I remember him talking about coming back to coach again. And I was like, absolutely, on one condition. You make it through the weekend this time.
Yeah.
And it was not in a negative or a judgmental way was I saying that or meaning that. It's kind of setting an expectation for him as a young man to say, hey, absolutely you can coach.
Yeah.
But you also got to finish what you start, even at Marji Camp as a coach. Yeah. And he has every year since then. Yeah. And he's been fantastic.
And he loves it as much as his pappy, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, he seems to, truly, sincerely appreciate that experience every year. I didn't get to talk to his girlfriend this year, but she was there, right?
Yeah, Nicole was there.
Yeah, hanging around camp. Did she ride?
I've not known her to. Yeah. So
Nice little weekend relaxing for her in Pioneer Circle then.
and yep, and she got to see what he does and see firsthand what it's all about and the scale of it. Which Marji Camp is certainly not the same scale as the actual event, but it's still a lot of people and a lot of things that have to be organized and arranged and executed and decisions that have to be made and all of the things that pop up. So like for me, for yours truly here, having to say, okay, I'm still not over what sickness I had 2 weeks ago. So as I'm going down on operating spark plugs for my V8, right? I'm going to have to start doing some coaching from the truck.
Yeah.
But these things happen. So I was still dedicated to my crew and got through that. So
Hey, did you ever? I don't think you ever heard back from Dum Dums, right?
no.
What's the name of the company?
Spangler Candy Company.
Spangler Company Candy. And where are they located?
They're located in a little town, I think, just west of Toledo, Ohio.
We need Spangler to partner with us on this and let us use the likeness of the Dum Dum.
And we're going to work on that again.
We need a Marji Gesick T-shirt with the Dum Dum.
I mean, I'm going to have to do probably some horse trading to get communication with them. In other words, have to give them what we're all about.
Yes.
Maybe a packet that we send in.
We're all about serving Dum Dums.
Yeah. Dum Dums serving Dum Dums.
Yes.
Right? Yeah,
Dum
that's what we are
Dums
here.
serving Dum Dums since 2014.
Yeah, since 2014.
I mean, we could that could be the shirt. Dum Dums serving Dum Dums.
I'll reach back out again. I think it'll be the third time I have. The last two have been non-responsive.
Yeah. What do you think the hesitation to respond would be? Just don't
probably-
need to?
Yeah, well, first they don't need to. There's
Right.
no obligation.
Right.
The second is it's a small company.
Yeah.
It probably just doesn't get on the agenda to be talked about with the leadership of the company.
But wouldn't you think, if it's a small company, in my mind, it should be easier to get something done.
Yeah.
You know, it's not this big monolith corporate monster that is soulless.
Right.
You know, if it's a smaller company and you got a little nonprofit that really wants to just cross promote, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful product. It plays right into our marketing and branding.
I know.
I mean, either way, they're getting the promotion out of it, right?
Yeah, they're getting a benefit, but they own the intellectual property rights, the trademark
Yeah.
to the use of the image of the Dum Dum on clothing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they own the trademark to the name, the word.
Yep.
The word.
Yeah. Well, they can license it.
They can license it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's make a note on that. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them.
Project Spangler.
Project Spangler.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Let's invite them to the Marji.
Perfect. And get them a hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bring them up.
Yeah.
They can be personally the checkpoints. They can sit out in the woods for 24 hours and hand out dum-dums.
One thing they have, after I read their website, is a commitment to the local kids development community. Parallel. Is there an Ohio branch or chapter plant?
Yeah, our affiliate
Yeah.
program is in Ohio.
Which city?
Shit, I don't remember that. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. Anyway,
But they are in Ohio.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's an angle that I can use.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All of them with that, right? Give them the all. Just poke them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
cue
I
that.
definitely,
We
that
gotta
would be
get-
really cool
yeah,
if
we
we
gotta
start
cue that up.
to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, we got the shirt designed.
yeah, right. I see it. Yep. Let's use it.
It's ready to go.
Yeah,
But we haven't done anything with it because we
gotta
want to do
respect
it.
their-
Yeah, we want to do it the right way.
Got to do it the right way.
Well, I mean, branding and marketing and trademark rights that's all been part of our little adventure over the years, right?
Yeah, what have we gotten? We had to trademark. We registered trademark to. Couldn't do it for Crusher. Right. And it was a whole nother.
That's a whole nother story.
Probably we don't have the time for it today, and we probably need to leave that one in the closet.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one where it is right now.
Yeah. But we have it for Marji Gesick,
Yep.
and we have the trademark registration for Polo Roll.
Yep.
And so
And thank you for that work because, I mean, you did that work back probably, 2019?
yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
2018. And then you got it in 2019 because we just did the 6-year they get a specimen of continued use.
Yeah.
So, and now it's kind of an impenetrable because it's not been challenged in that period of time. Mm-hmm. It's like no one can use it because it would be presumed unchallengeable in meeting the requirements for registration.
You know what? The thing we can talk about with Crusher, because the trademark law, so to speak, is kind of fascinated me because we've had to dig into it and have many, many conversations about different aspects of, trademark protection, trademark challenges, etc. But Crusher was interesting because as you dug into it, we had many conversations. I think it ended up being a bike brand, right?
Yeah.
That made it, that had the, did they have the mark with a K? Crusher with a K?
I think it was Crusher with a K, a bike, the evidence, this was for someone else's registration for the name.
Right.
Who was challenging, challenging us.
Right. Crusher with a C.
Crusher with a C.
Right.
But that application for registration was negated or deemed to not be registerable because of a Crusher bike with a K that was sold out of Walmart 20 years earlier.
Right.
So.
And then when we started looking at it, because we had our use of the word, sort of challenged.
Yeah.
But, when we started looking at it, if you look back through years and years and years of cycling events, countless
there were
events have used Crusher as a descriptive word almost, right? You can go on Bike Ride right now and type in Crusher, and you're going to get 4, 5, 6 events that pop up using the word Crusher. Yeah. And it basically has just made it unregisterable.
It's unregisterable as a single word, or probably even in combination with another word many times, probably. Mm-hmm. And it's generic. Mm-hmm.
Generic. That's what the term is. Generic.
It's generic. And descriptive.
Right.
So, anyway.
Yeah, fascinating.
But for all of you out there, we've got Polaroid Protected and Marji Gesick.
Yes. We talked about EX.
Yeah.
That one's fascinating to me. Not that and the only reason it's fascinating because I like looking at different angles of, EX to me, you could say it's generic.
Yeah.
But to me, it identifies a very specific sort of event format in our ecosystem, at least.
Yeah.
But you thought it was generic?
That would be my starting point.
Right.
But it's worthy of a search.
It would ultimately come down, though, I think you've said this, no matter what you submit a trademark for, it ultimately comes down to what the examiner thinks?
Yeah, ultimately with the trademark examining attorney thinks,
Yeah. That whole world just, it's incredibly interesting to me.
I tried recently for another entity to get a trademark for them, just, helping them out. Mm-hmm. Another kind of business startup, but it was too descriptive. That fortunately was a small entity, so it wasn't too much to them. But the fact that they got what we would call a poor man's trademark is not getting it registered, but it's already publicly out there. So someone else...
Oh, okay. So they can show use.
They can show use, and someone else can't come in and use that name for the same product and expect to get a registration.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Why did they not get it, you said?
It was too descriptive.
Too descriptive. So...
And I didn't have an argument back that would have got around that.
What makes for a solid name or thing? Like, what makes a good case for a trademark request?
Marji Gesick's the perfect example of a lack of connection and description from who Marji Gesick was and a biking event.
So there's just a stark contrast.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When it gets where there is a connection, then boom, it starts to not be, possible to get the registration.
Gotcha.
Like tires, trying to get the trademark to the word round for tires. Mm-hmm. not likely to happen. Right.
Because
Tires are round.
so it's just describing the item.
Describing, it's too descriptive, yeah.
Because it's literally round.
Well, most are.
Well, which aren't.
When they're being used, they're round, usually. Properly used.
So, okay. Yeah. See, that's the nuance that, because it makes you have to think about it.
Yeah. But I think Marji Gesick is a great example of how a person's name, and you can use this person's name because it's not an existing person, and you just have to sign a certain statement that it's not, under penalty of perjury, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, that it's not a living person, a living being. And then there's just, now it describes an event.
Sure.
But before the first one, who would have associated a bike race with the Indian chief Marji Gesick?
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't have, because they didn't, most people around here couldn't even remember or didn't know that he existed, which was, kind of the impetus for me once I got far enough down that rabbit hole of history and just learning more about the local history. It's like, it seemed like an incredible sin to not reflect back and lose a connection to that point in our history. Yeah. I mean, that's literally, ore is what the UP is built on.
Yep, totally.
Totally. And we seem to be oblivious to those people that made this possible for us, which is terrible, unforgivable. Yeah. So really the desire in the beginning was just to, through an event, and I mean, remember, like, we had no idea where this thing was going to go.
Right.
Nobody could have ever predicted this.
Right.
Most people that I went to and talked to about it told me it was a stupid idea and that I shouldn't do it. And they also said it was a stupid name.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, well, thanks for the support. We're going to try it anyway.
We're going to do it anyway. And you've just confirmed that we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there's one thing I feel good about through the event, it's that more people now know he was here and what he did, what he was responsible for.
And then the decades later lawsuit by his daughter.
Yeah, with Charlotte. There was a camper actually this weekend from Marji Camp who brought the book over to me and
really?
Yeah, wanted to just acknowledge, like, hey, I've heard that there's a history to this. I'm taking the time to read this book and learn about it, and it's fascinating.
It's
the book Laughing Whitefish.
Laughing Whitefish. Okay. I'm going to have to look that up. I did though see one depiction of you and Danny in a cartoon kind of production where you both thought it was his third grade teacher, Marji Gesick.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Shreddy put out that video of you.
Oh, this is a Shreddy thing?
Yeah, Shreddy.
Oh, yeah.
He put out that video of you and Danny planning your race.
Yeah. No idea what Shreddy came up with.
Yeah, well, name it after my third grade school teacher, Marji Gesick.
We have been incredibly careful to try to honor that name and not tell the story. Meaning, like, not try to interpret it, not try to...
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not try to come off like, I don't know, trying to capitalize on it, because that was not the intent.
Yeah.
I've had people make some suggestions over the years that were terrible suggestions. Mm-hmm. So yeah, whatever Shreddy came up with, that'll stay in planet or universe of Shreddy.
I think going back to his daughter and her court case was a really important court case.
It was incredibly important.
The Supreme Court of the U.S. would not overturn the Michigan Supreme Court's decision.
Yep.
Part of that decision was whether state courts could have make rulings against the federal government. That was part of that case. It was an outcome of it. Mm. The issue of the case was that the people that he signed the contract with in the first place for mining ore, hematite, never paid him or paid him very little. Yep. And because Charlotte was the daughter of his third wife, and he was married to all three wives or so at the same time, that was considered a polygamy problem, Therefore, she was illegitimate. But their tribe, this was unacceptable. This was not against tribe rules. So on that basis, the Michigan Supreme Court said, yep, she was a legitimate heiress, and they won that case. So
That also was part of the rabbit hole I went down.
yeah,
And came across, and it just was like, this story just keeps going.
right.
It's just fucking blew me away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been pretty fantastic.
Go back a little bit earlier than that meetup, which was probably 1850 with Marji Gesick and the prospectors. I think it was both private and government prospectors. Prospectors, excuse me. Prior to that, 1837-ish, 1836, when they were trying to draw the southern border of Michigan, it led to something called the War of Toledo. Because Michigan, Southeast Michigan, rich influencers, people with the money, wanted that strip of farmland and wanted Toledo to be part of Michigan. And it created going on for a couple of years, such a big controversy in Washington, D.C. that ultimately President Jefferson, I think, which president? I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But the president of the United States said, okay, I'm done with hearing all this stuff. Michigan, you get the UP. Ohio, you get that Toledo strip. And of course, the people downstate were going, UP is a wasteland.
Yeah, wilderness.
Wilderness. What do we need that for? And I guess we can see how things turned out from there.
Yeah, not too bad for Michigan.
Not too bad for Michigan. Not too bad for Henry Ford with all of the logging operations he did when he was making wood-sided vehicles and needed a source of timber, floatable source of timber, right? So,
was Ford involved with the? I think he was somehow. I think he was involved with that rock cut, with the tracks that they were trying to get up toward the Huron Mountain Club.
yeah, where Pline 35 is, right there.
Yeah.
He was involved in that.
Yeah, I know he has involvement in the Huron Mountain Club itself. Yeah, he's got a lot of involvement in the UP.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's part of the whole history up here too.
Absolutely.
Even charcoal was invented by one of his wood mill plants.
Yeah, Kingsford.
Yeah, Kingsford.
Yeah.
What do we do with all the sawdust? I don't know. We make charcoal out of it. Then the briquette was invented, right?
Yeah.
So,
How are we doing on time right now? I got to do a time check because we got Bike Club launching this afternoon.
10:30.
Okay, 10:30. We're in pretty good shape.
all right.
What else you got on your mind there, David Cate?
I want to tell people what I think is my favorite Marji Gesick.
Sure. Go for it.
It certainly wasn't my finish in 2018. Not my favorite. I think that year the Triple Crown was. That was 2017. This hat, that's what I call the bone breaker for me, because that's what I did. I broke my bone and broke my shoulder up here, and then just started popping Motrin and rode from Doctors mile 45 or whatever all the way up to Ishpeming and said, okay, enough's enough. Can't eat, and I can't keep anything in any end anymore.
Yeah.
It was a dicey time. But anyway, nothing will replace the feeling of watching you come across the line in 2020. My favorite Marji Gesick moment was being a part of that and watching you come across the line with the big foam middle finger.
That was a great morning. Great weather. Yeah. It was cold out there that night.
It was cold that night.
Really cold.
And that was still the old, it doesn't include Crybaby at that time, right? Did it?
Nope.
No, it was the old kind of threw the roads back in there. And then you came in those windy trails right behind the houses there. And I was down on the snowmobile trail right there just to the west of Jasper Knob entrance. And I could hear you talking like back up in there. For like 20 minutes, I'm like, I forgot that it takes so damn long to get down out of there and back into Ishpeming. So I was just listening. And once I knew it was that you guys were coming out, I went back to the finish and got to watch that.
Well, it was a really unique time of the year to do it because we're coming out of winter, and it was an odd start to the year because of COVID. Like nothing was normal.
Right.
So that was also having still come out of 2019 from the ice Olaroz Ice Festival. So, the backcountry back in there in the Hill Street area, especially, there's remnants from that storm. Still, everything was fucked up.
Yeah.
And now it's still super early in the spring. So stuff has not been cleaned up. It has not been prepped. It was interesting. There's no signage,
signage at all.
Nothing looks at that time in June like it will later in the year, say in September, once it's had traffic on it throughout the summer.
Yeah.
It was fresh.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And I mean, I remember just multiple times, with Pete and Eddie and I doing the navigating, because the woods that time of the year, like, I know the course,
right,
but everything looked so different. Yeah. Trees were down, shit was blocked. You couldn't see things that you normally would had they been maintained and opened up.
Yeah.
Then it'd be like, oh yeah, it's that way. Well, you couldn't see that way because there's a tree there.
Right.
It was really
going down 38 Special or whatever. It's like there's a tree right in the middle of that.
Yeah, it was really an odd time of the year to do it. That's the one part that stands out, was just how different it looked that early in the season.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I also would say one thing that stood out is how different you looked from the start to when you almost went back down the road the wrong way before, as opposed to climbing Suicide Mountain.
When I did Marji, I think that was a week after I had just done the EX 225.
Yeah. And you had to squeeze it in because I was headed to Europe for the first month that I could get over there. And you're like, I need you to direct me, or whatever you said.
Yeah. Well, I wanted you to be there for it.
You want to be for it.
Yeah, because you were getting ready to take off.
Yeah.
And then, how long were you gone?
Until well into 21.
Yeah.
I came back in August 21.
Yeah, I admittedly, by the end of that, having come out of Crusher a week earlier, the 225, it was like, I'm ready for a break.
But I would like to share with the folks. I did make a video, but I don't know that we ever posted it, of that surviving that day.
I don't think so.
No.
We've looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Todd doesn't show up with a hardtail with a 36, 34 shock on the front. But he did have a hardtail with a rigid fork.
And drop bars.
It was a full-on gravel bike.
It was a full-on gravel bike. So that is another impossible off the table thing.
I don't think we've had an official finisher.
I've never seen it.
On a gravel bike. I know of none. And I've been at the finish line for every damn one. So there you go. If you want an incredible challenge, do Marji on a gravel bike.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
A single speed where you have to pump the brakes or the pedals backwards in order to engage the brakes too, right? Just like a Huffy.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I remember coming down Main Street that morning because it was a really nice morning.
Yeah.
That was a good feeling. You got it behind you. Because I will likely never do it.
Yeah.
On during the official event, because
not possible.
It's not possible.
No.
I mean, I can't tell you through the years how many times people will be like, "Oh, do you do it?" No, that's not my role. I'm here to run it, to make that opportunity available for other people. That's not my day. It's everybody else's day.
Absolutely.
And now it's become such a operation and complicated event. And then the other thing that people don't understand about this, and in all of our events really, I think, is, I've said this recently, I look at it more like art or a live presentation.
Yeah.
We have never fallen into having these preset, this is what it's going to be every year in a perpetuity.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that with some of the course for Marji, because the course is the course, and there's some changes here and there, little things, little tweaks. But we keep things fresh by checkpoints and,
or no checkpoints.
Or no checkpoints. Just the other things we can put in there. But it really is, it is a type of live performance that is evolving particularly fast when you get within 2 weeks of the event.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when a lot of the wild ideas, the crazy things, the last minute stuff that we do, it comes up.
Yeah.
days before the event.
Yep.
From a random idea, like the one you shared where you kick the pumpkin down the ramp and you're like, this is stupid. These are for candy. And I'm like, oh, candy.
Candy.
And then it leads, to one of the funniest checkpoint scenarios the event has had.
And not everyone took it so nicely, realizing that
Right.
they were having to pick up candy and take it to the finish, including one of the pros.
Right.
I was checking the bin at the end of Sissy Pants, which was the first Dum Dum one in 23.
Yep.
Because we had, on Zoe, we had the Jawbreaker.
Yep.
And Jordan come through, just happened to come through at the time. Mm-hmm. He stopped. We had a few words in exchange for a little bit. Jordan Wakely, who was the winner that year. He goes, I think I better take one if I remember correct. And I'm like, there's the sign. What does it say? We're here to serve you. And he smiled and he took it. Either the next one or the next person behind him put up a fight about it.
About taking candy.
About taking candy.
Yeah. Didn't think that it was a checkpoint token.
Thought it was complete, utter bullshit. And who would run an event like this or something like that was said, right? And I'm like, dude, you can complain all you want, but there's the instructions and there's the bin,
Right.
Then I walked out because the bin was full. I filled it back up because the 50s had went through before.
Yep.
What have you. I find his dum-dum, what I think was his dum-dum, sitting in the middle of the snowmobile trail there. Because there was no dum-dum sitting in the middle of that snowmobile trail.
Yep.
And I think it might have been the person who didn't present theirs. They were missing one.
It's possible. Yeah, we had a guy.
I could be wrong, but
I don't think he collected any candy.
maybe that was him. Yeah.
I don't think he collected any. I think he thought it was a joke.
Yeah, it has to. Was he one of the faster?
Yeah, he was on the front end.
Yeah. That's exactly who it was.
Yeah.
Oh, he was calling me stuff too, kinda. Okay, being soft with that. And I'm like, I grew up on Gratiot Avenue, and I practice law for a living. I feed on your anger.
Yeah.
Give it to me good. I love it.
Well, I mean, some of the mind games, that's what they're there for. It's kind of tease that stuff out, and then it becomes an opportunity for some personal growth. Or, if you can't get over it, then you don't grow, and you just stay mad and bitter.
Yep, that's it.
And that's totally up to you.
It's your decision.
Either way, I will sleep well tonight.
Yeah, it's not going to bother me.
It'll be all right.
Won't bother me. Oh, boy, I have to say, first time I met you was right after we heard about the first Marji Gesick race. And we happened to park like 2 cars away from each other in Timber Ridge at the Iceman. Mm. And
yeah, I remember meeting you there.
And yeah, so then that's kind of where it all started for me. Mm-hmm. 2016 was what the is this place? Mm-hmm. After 3 weeks before we did Peach of a Ride, a group of 5 of us, a century in less than 5 hours. And Johnny Durkis, and I driving up to 2016, and we're like, yeah, this is no problem. We'll get a buckle. Yeah, that's not it. We'll just take it easy. Boy, that day. That's where you were at old campground road and rock cut, back in the west side of 553 where the trail came together. Mm-hmm. And they had just race tape right there. Mm-hmm. And some person just said, you're going the wrong way. Go that way. Come under the tape. And I went to Nagani, and that's when I first met Stacy. Because she seen my number come in. And she said, we don't have you recorded as going through the trailhead at South Trail. What? What is that? Yeah, there's a big pavilion there. They didn't see you there. And I'm like, yeah, I wasn't there. I don't know it that one. So that was the end of that one. And then 20.
So that year, did you take the Heritage Trail up?
No, I just rode from like old campground road, part of back in by Morgan Creek, headed then through Enchanted, and then on the Snowmobile Trail, and then right onto the Iron Ore Trail, and then into Nagani for the first Jackson Park.
Gotcha.
And that was it. And I was like, okay, it was a nice bike ride today.
What went on with Johnny?
Yeah, he was having some health issues.
That's what. It was.
And we also had to take a shortcut. Danny came up on us, and Danny and I got him back to Forestville with a shortcut. So I was already kind of off the course, but that's all right. Still wrote it and learned about it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't use the word addiction, but personally committed, and now community committed. It's just a great. It's just that's what my commitment is to for that period of time.
A commitment to the events, mission,
To the events, to the
community,
to what the events feed into,
right?
Which is very, very important to me.
Yeah,
in my thinking.
Yeah. We're fortunate to have people like you and many others that, you know, and I would hope that a lot more people would actually experience this evolution where you come into the events and you have your own experiences.
Yeah.
Right. For as long as it takes, whatever. Go through your polar roll, go through your crusher, go through your Marji, do as many of them as many times as you want. And then when that has run its course, and maybe when you've received as many lessons perhaps as you hope to take away from them, transition and now experience the events as a volunteer, as part of SufferCrew, because seeing it from the other side is totally different. And there's a whole different sense of satisfaction that comes with that. It will benefit you as a person equally in a different way. And if you can stay in it, I mean, that was my progression from the beginning. And really, if you follow that progression, you're just following the progression I had. Come in, do a lot of racing, have a lot of events, get into cycling that I'd been out of for over 20 years, have it impact my life, want to share it with others. You know, so then you stop doing the events yourself. You start doing and serving and running them operationally for other people to have those experiences. Yeah. And it just keeps coming full circle. Yeah. Pull more people in. But, you know, if you can have that steady flow, people coming in and doing it, then flipping over, volunteering, becoming part of the operational underpinning of the event, that'll keep it going into perpetuity too.
Yep. And we have learned so much collectively, not only by having been a participant, like you talked about how we evolved, but then how to deal with operational troubleshooting. And we kind of have, at some point, we've got to record all this down. I don't know how it can be archived for the future use of what to do in the more typical situations that arise. But yeah, we have built that. And it's like between you, I, and Mark, when we see something pop up, we can usually deal with it. And apparently we're going to be dealing with something this year because of all the logging contracts and what we can't staple into the tree for what distance this year. So that'll be our first challenge for 2025.
Yeah. You know what's interesting on the volunteer side for us is that I think it's super important to have as many volunteers as possible at the event, having had experienced the event. Because when you're able to participate as a volunteer in an event for people who have yet to fully experience it, I think the engagement is different. It's deeper, more authentic. Like the people who are there volunteering for the event to help you do it, they know what you've been through because they've been through it before you. So there's really a different level of, I think, connection between the volunteer in the event and the volunteer and the participants of the event. You know, a lot of events, and this is not a knock on any event, but I'm sharing this because this is one of many, 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 many ways we're different. A lot of events will go out and they'll use like volunteer sign up. So an online portal where you just throw it out to the world and you say, hey, you know, we need volunteers. And you're catching anybody and everybody that'll come in. Most of these people probably have absolutely no idea or connection to the event or the organization hosting it. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's about. They've never had these experiences. They're just disconnected. They're probably trying to check a volunteer box somewhere.
Right.
I've refused for years, and I will continue to refuse. We will never use volunteer sign-up. We will not use some sort of third-party platform that just grabs anybody and everybody, because anybody and everybody is not a good volunteer. You have to, and it takes a lot of work to do it the way we do it.
Yeah.
It is the hard way to do it.
Often.
And we will not stop doing it that way because that's what we want our events surrounded by.
Yeah. People
who understand what the event's about and what these people are going through, and they respect it.
Yeah.
They're there to support it. Yeah. And I think that has also led to the loyalty and the enthusiasm around the events.
Yep. Yeah.
Because you really got to understand what's going on.
Every one of us, I think, our motivation isn't promoting self.
No, there's some, of course, always, but largely not.
In general, no. I mean, but for example, this weekend at camp, coaching with Dave Freeman and Jeff Hutchins, these are not people that go, oh, it's me. It wasn't about them. They were volunteering their time for the betterment of the campers.
Yeah, I think that Marji Camp, volunteering at our events, what we're about to do tonight, kicking off bike club season. Yep. We've got 130 volunteers here in Marquette. We have 560 across all of the communities. We're not, this organization is not an arm of the military, but this organization is service driven. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who participates on behalf of 906 Adventure Team is in service to others. That is the intention, and that's the mission. You're there to give to other people. Yeah. And it's, for other people that aren't doing it, that's okay. Yeah. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can go be part of whatever group you want. Yeah. But I think service is an underpinning and a foundational brick, to the organization. And it always will be. We all hopefully come through and have our own experiences. Mm-hmm. And then we come back in service to others to provide them to more people. Yeah. And people need these experiences more than they've ever needed them. They need an opportunity to step away from the chaos of the life that we spend most of our days in, to actually connect with a part of ourselves that we are just slowly losing touch with.
Especially in my case, and I won't go too far down the path on explaining my case, but I'll say that this activity for me always brings me into a realm of pure reality. Mm-hmm. And I get to experience that personally on the basis of the service. Yep. So mine here, as we have our congratulations on Marji X or Marji 10. Mm-hmm. And there's a little message on the gift I gave you on the bottom if you read it. Mm-hmm. Mine actually uses the word service in what I wrote on mine. Mm. So, but mine is Marji X with the underline under the X, because that's about your 2020 effort, that underline. So anyway, awesome. But it is, it's, and you welcome me back every time. I don't know, but as long as this will still do it and this is functioning, I'll be here.
Important part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Puzzle.
Yeah. Puzzle. It's a puzzle.
It's a good word for it. And the other word you used about me was infamous. I love it. I love it.
Well, that is a good word for you. It just certainly is.
And you know what the meaning of the word, the common meaning of the word is, obviously. So.
Yes. I've been referred to myself as infamous and other things.
Yeah.
We're going to get rolling, I think, hey? We need to go check the weather to see if we're going to be able to run this thing tonight, which I think we will. I think it's going to happen. Yep. And you got to get home.
I got to go load up and take off in the morning.
So until next time, until Crusher, a month from now, be well, brother.
Take care, brother.
Out.